your buddy Alert Wolf here to bring you another movie review. This time it's on the Fantastic Four. Alright, so let's get right into this beast of a movie. Alright, so like I said, normally I do movie reviews, especially ones with fan bases, such as comic books and whatnot. If I'm familiar with the source material, I'll give you a vote as a fan and as a moviegoer. And it's gonna be a little harsh on both. Okay, so basically, this movie is an origin story, and it is the origin of the Fantastic Four, as well as Doctor Doom. Only the whole movie is the entire origin, as opposed to, say, the original film, where the origin was the first few minutes, or first few, maybe block 1, block 2, and then we get into, doing what they do when they do it. Now, I will say this movie felt like a little two-faced, you know what I mean? Like, it had that extreme feeling of, like, I'm gonna go this way, and then, no, I'm not, I'm over here. And, I know Fox got involved and undid and redid the end of this movie, and it is completely obvious because the feel of this film is going in one direction and then just veers off to the left somewhere, and it makes the whole experience very hollow. So let me get to the point, or the synopsis of the story. Now, warning, folks. Normally, I'm going to give you spoilers, but normally for a movie, unlike an anime, I don't like to reveal the whole movie because I figure maybe you haven't seen it yet and you want my review, maybe to be that nudge to see it one way or the other. However, this time I'm not going to do it that way. This movie's been rated so badly by everybody that I'm going to just assume you didn't see it and you don't want to see it. But you may want to hear what was wrong with it. Now, I want to tell you right now, is this one of these movies that's so colossally bad and stupid that by its own rights becomes good because of how bad it is? And I'm going to say no. This is not one of those films. It's not good because it became bad. It's bad because somebody messed with it. Like, I would love to have seen the original cut of this film, and just to see where the hell they were going with it. Now, having said that, the movie starts off, Ben Grimm and Mr. Fantastic are kids. They meet, kids in class or whatever, and the teacher asks them, what do you want to be? And, young Reed Richards is like, I'm going to make a teleporter. And I've worked out the kinks, and he gets into the science talk, and because he's smarter than his teacher, his teacher's like, no, you can't do that shit. Get out of here. And Ben gets called up next. He sees his notebook. He realizes this kid's a genius, and, maybe there's something to this kid. All right, then we get a taste of Ben's home life. Ben's home life, he lives in a junkyard. I feel like they live in Queens. They probably live right next door to Spider-Man at this point. But he lives in a junkyard, and his brother picks on him a lot. He's bigger and older. And when this is important. When his brother picks on him, he goes, it's clobbering time before he beats him. And in the movie, his mother steps in. But my point is, and this will come out later in the film, when Ben does use it, and it's so wrong, because they made a specific point that when his brother does physically beat him up and abuse him, and he had a bat in his hand, so the idea was he was probably going to do some damage to old Ben. You wouldn't want to use that term, right? If somebody's picking on you and they say it, they have like a catchphrase they use every time they kick your ass. Unless you're kicking that guy's ass maybe the one time and you use it that way, there's really no reason for you to ever, you wouldn't want to use that ever again. But I digress. I just bring this up because later on in the movie, you see what I'm saying. So this is a much darker, not darker toned, grittier take on the Fantastic Four. Again, for no reason at all, you know. Johnny Storm is black. Let's just get that right out. For no reason, I think it was just done as pure shock value. I like the actor they have for the dad. He honestly made the movie, you know. But like, yeah, I don't know why. Listen, let me just put this out right now. Being a minority myself in Spanish, I am sick and tired of taking established, beloved characters who are white, and for no reason at all, just to be fair, we're gonna make it just for you guys. We're gonna make him like he's black, he's Asian, he's Spanish. Listen, that insults us. It does. It's insulting. We know these characters pretty well. The character's not black, and to just assume that the character will be the same if you change the color on the palette is the most insulting part, because Spanish people, black people, Asian people, I don't care the exact race, but we're all different from each other in a beautiful way and similar in a beautiful way. But my point is, a black Johnny Storm is going to have a different point of view, different attitude. He's a completely different character than, say, a white Johnny Storm, even if they supposedly grew up similar. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be a different take. You know, the same way the races are slightly different from each other. That's not a racist stance, but I think it is a racist stance when you could like we're all so vanilla that you can swap flavors and it's not going to make a difference. You know, I don't know. That being said, what's his face is Johnny Storm. He played a good Johnny Storm, and I dig everybody's character. My the next criticism I'll give this movie is the character interplay, I think, could have been brought out a little more. But this movie, in the beginning of the film, is basically a drama, a suspenseful type of, with a little bit of jokes peppered in, but it has like an edge to it, like a sci-fi, like horror movie before things go horribly wrong. The next we see that they're back into the story. You know, Ben and Reeds become friends. They do their first experiment, which does teleport a toy car to somewhere else, places unknown. They just find dirt in its place and they're unable to bring it back. And then flash forward, they're in a high school. See, this doesn't make any sense too. I'm just gonna. We flash forward, and we're in a high school science fair. But like the science fair is like full of little kids, but you have, you know, Reed Richards and Ben Grimm participating in this science fair. Like, what are the age groups? Like third grade to senior in high school? Like, and then the you know, he makes something teleport and disappear, and there's a slight earthquake and it breaks something, but he's like, you're paying for that glass, and this isn't. His fifth grade science teacher was like, this isn't science, it's magic. And I'm like, but this is where we get introduced to Dr. Storm and Suze, and you know, and that Reed Richards is gonna go to go and join their institute at the Baxter Building, and he has a scholarship. They have their own college, basically, and they're working on the experiment. They also mentioned that Victor was recently kicked out, but they want Victor back to continue the experiment. And they also mentioned that it's a dimensional teleporter that takes you to another dimension, another planet, actually. And then we get a chance that we also see that the board is being run by some quasi military ish, maybe he's part of some sort of quasi group in the government, douchebag. um so I mean, whatever. um they mentioned that Victor blew up his lab, and before he blew up his lab, he also torched some hard drives, and because he didn't want his work to be used, um, which is kind of sort of his origin. I mean, the true origin of the Fantastic Four is they met at college, you know, and Victor is probably one of the only people as smart as Reed. But what happens is Ben goes back to living in the junkyard, and the three of them, Doctor Doom. Well, soon he's not a doctor yet, apparently, and I don't know when he's going to get that doctorate. I don't know why they just call him Doom. He could have just had a doctorate and been called Doctor Doom. That'd have been nice. But whatever. Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic are working on the teleporter project. Then we meet Johnny Storm, who was like racing, but he had this car he built that was like it's kind of stupid. He was car racing with this car, and he's a better driver than them, and he was winning, but his car, burnt itself out. He got into an accident. His dad bailed him out, yelled at him. I was like, dude, you're coming to work for me or you're never having your car back. And basically, he helps build the teleporter, and he says that he's a machinist who can build anything, basically. And he may or may not be smart. We also find out that they're adopted, Sue, and Sue is good at deducing patterns. So, and she's working on the suits that'll protect them from the hazard suits. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to shake the camera there. And so they do a test with the monkey, and that's pretty cool. And finally, they pass, but then they're told they're not going to go. So the boys get drunk. They're like, we're going to do this anyway. And they're like, wait, I got to call my boy. And then Ben Grimm comes in, and he comes down. And so the four of them, the four men, by the way, the Sue is not with them at all, which is a little stupid. And, okay, we're about to get into one of my major gripes about the film. And this is a gripe before the pace and the story went awry. Okay, they go into this alien world. I thought they were in the negative zone, but they're on planet Zero, whatever. And again, Sue never goes with them. So now they're in this alien world, and there's this green energy. Ooh, and the green looks like Doctor Doom green. Ooh, and this green energy's sort of alive, and it's like calling to Doom, and they go to investigate, even though they should probably leave, and something goes wrong. Of course something goes wrong. The energy starts enveloping Doom, and Reed Richards tries to, it was like a cliffhanger moment, and he couldn't save him, and so they assumed he died, and then they bring everybody back. Now, let me stop right there. Doctor Doom, I don't know why Fox keeps doing this, doesn't have powers. Doesn't have mystical cosmic power. Well, he has mystical powers, but he doesn't have cosmic powers. Doctor Doom is a cross between Doctor Strange and Iron Man. He understands magic, alchemy, and science, and he's a genius. He has an Iron Man-like suit, but with all three properties that I just mentioned. He does not himself have superpowers other than the fact that he knows magic and can use that, obviously, in a physical form, similar to Doctor Doom. So he does know magic. But, which is why when they joke about, that's some sort of magic trick, because that's what Doom used to do. He used to do petty magic, but not petty, but it was real magic. It was just like weak magic. This is my point. He doesn't get irradiated and then have superpowers with metal all over him like this. I'm Dr. Doom or Bane. That's not how his powers work. and we're gonna get into that when Doom attacks later in this movie. But okay, so they go back, and that's a big problem, man. Just do Doom right. I felt like they had it so close. They could have just tweaked the story in a certain direction, and Doctor Doom's origin would have made sense. He could have came back with his Iron Man suit. Like, there were so many things they could have done, but they didn't do it. And why are they afraid to make Doom an evil Iron Man? Because that's what he is. A genius who makes his own Iron Man suit. Who his suit could bust up Iron Man. I'm just saying. But whatever. So they come out of it. They lose Doom to the planet. They come out. The shockwave hits Sue. And by the way, Sue tattles like a little kid that they all did this. But whatever. And they're all altered. You know, you got Stretchy. And let me explain one thing. Mr. Fantastic can stretch, but in some of the scenes, I thought the CG behind his stretching was incomplete. Like, it looked good, but it wasn't fully polished. And the other thing, sometimes when he was uncontrollably stretching, kind of looked like this, and like his bones were breaking and it was painful. But he's made of rubber, so that doesn't make any sense. Okay. Next scene, they're captured by the government. It's been a while, you know, and you know, they're being experimented on, and you know, Reed escapes. Now, the movie, up until Reed escapes, makes sense. We're down a dark path. Again, I didn't agree with some of the things, and I wish the characters had more interaction and better chemistry together, considering these actors could have a good chemistry if they wanted to. But that's not my point. We were on this train, and we were going this way. Wherever the hell it was going, it was interesting. It was a little slow. The pacing was a little slow, and that made it a little boring to some people if you wanted more action. But I was following where the director was leading me. And then then we took a left turn to Cuckoosville, and the characters after this don't have the same feel to them. They stop making sense a little bit, and the movie just veers right off the tracks. So Mr. Fantastic escapes. A year goes by. You know, and by the way, the Thing, Ben Grimm, looks great, and they made him bigger, but they removed his penis. Like, why is the Thing naked? No other version of Marvel Comics had the Thing naked. He always has underwear. Why does he have underwear? Because he just has a stone body. But he has a stone body. That means stone dick and balls. You know what I'm saying? Dick and balls. He has them. He's, you know, he had that blind girlfriend I think he married, and bangs her out with his rock penis. Like, he has a penis. They literally neutered the more masculine character of the Thing, and they neutered him, and he had no penis. Listen, Silver Surfer doesn't have a penis because Galactus doesn't want him to go in things again. He is, you know what I'm saying? That's why that character doesn't have a penis. But the Thing does have penis, and they cut his off. He ain't got no penis in this movie, and I feel bad for him. You know, I do. I feel bad. But, so they come up with this weird montage that looks like they were training and developing their powers, but they're being trained by the government, and the Thing does missions where he takes out enemies to the U.S., but he's killing people because there's like a video of a kill count, like he killed 43 people. Like, Ben Grimm went from an average picked on kid to, like, okay, he became a rock monster, but then he became a professional killer. Like, that doesn't track with me. That's a character change. It's a huge dip in the road with little explanation. Even because he became a monster, I don't think he'd be just killing people. Like, and granted, the people he's killing is bad guys and enemies to America and all that, but, like, he didn't get like military training to deal with this. You know, he's just like, oh, if you cure me, I'll kill whoever you want me to kill. Like, I don't know, not good, just not good. And then the professor goes along with this way too easily. Like, oh, if you don't do it the way I say we're gonna do it, things could be bad. And so he figures he'll help them out by developing the technology, recreating the technology that sent them there, so they could get a sample of that energy and hopefully figure out a way to cure him. And where I agree that you have to go back to the scene of the crime, it makes no freaking sense to trust the government that's kind of holding you hostage. I mean, in a previous scene, we saw that he pitched this, that they're going to make more Supermen to do their bidding. So if you know that's their mindset, why would you build them a machine? I understand to cure your son and whatever, and your daughter and the random dude that's now there, but like, come on, he's smarter than that. Like, I didn't like that either, and it makes the father, who was very strong in the first half of the film, very weak by the second half of the film, and almost an accomplice. Like, okay, not good. Let's keep the ball rolling here. So we keep going, and we get to a point where now they can't finish it without Reed's help. But Reed is in the jungles of South America, because apparently that's where you're going. And I thought something was cool. He altered his face to look different, and he is trying to build his own teleporter to teleport himself there and back. And they make it seem like this is an important thing in the movie, but it's not. Like, his teleporter never comes up into play again. I mean, there was another scene with Doom where Doom goes, I trust you, meaning to the professor, and he's like, I trust Susan. And they didn't do anything with that either. I mean, that was supposed to imply that he had a love thing for her, and he kind of did, but it was just weird. So they kind of capture Reed and take him back, and it's the Thing versus Mr. Fantastic, and you get to see Reed fight. But here's the thing: Reed was this timid, absorbed in my work type of guy, right? And then he becomes this badass guy who's beating up professional soldiers and like out fighting them, and he has like battle instinct. On top of that, he's secure in who he is now. He's clearly a leader. He's got a little scruff going. And I'm like, I know it's been a year, but no. His character is just 180 out of nowhere. Like, no. And here's something else that makes no sense, and you can tell this is because they cut the movie. Okay, with the exception of the Thing, the other two members of the Fantastic Four, the Storm family, are wearing special suits. One is Human Torch is wearing a suit that allows him to control when he flames on and off. Sue is apparently wearing a suit that allows her to control her phase shifting into invisibility. By the way, there's a big plot hole coming up, and I'm going to mention that, and the ability to create force fields. So they're wearing these specialized suits. But when we see Reed later on, and they're capturing him, he has a homemade version of their suits, the design of which just looks the same, only his is a little rattier because it looks like it isn't washed his enough, like it's a little older. But like, for some reason he had like coils and chains, and I don't even know how his material stretched as far as he did. Like, it didn't make sense, and there was no real explanation on why he needed a suit. You do see in another scene that without it he looked like he went to jelly, but that doesn't even make that only made sense to me because and I'm going to get into the scene in a second, but because he's being held down by force, so that kind of made sense. I don't know. There was no explanation for his suit, why he needed his suit, and what his suit actually did. and the training montage seemed forced and wrong. And so whatever. So they open up a new portal, and then they. Here's another thing. The first time people went through the portal, it became the Fantastic 3 or 4 there, right? Why would you open up a portal again and give them the same containment suits? These suits were supposed to protect them against the radiation of that place, but it obviously didn't if it transformed all of them into what they are. So why would you send the same people out wearing the same useless protective suits? And that's another thing. Why not send the original 3, or including Sue, to there, because they've already been exposed to that radiation and it's already altered them. I don't think they could get any worse. So it was just weird. And then we find Doom's alive, and he's like, I knew you'd be back for him. And somehow they had said he merged with the suit, but now the suit kind of gives him the Doom face mask. It's very weird. And so they bring him back, and they're like, oh, he's alive. And then the villainous military dude is like, hey, we'll find you a cure, but you should work for us, and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you guys, I knew you were going to come back. You could never have the power. See, and this is another thing. So apparently, Doom becomes, in most comic books, he becomes the leader of Latveria and has his own people and country. And he cares about the people inside his country. That's the thing where I think they're missing something with Doom. And they did mention that Doom looks at things like maybe the Earth deserves what it's going to get because we haven't fixed the problems yet. Whatever. So there was that scene in there. But Doom's motivation is Reed's motivation. Doom has, even though he's twisted, he does have a big heart. That's part of Doom's motivation, is he feels if he took things over from the people that ran the place, things would run better. And there were seeds of that there too in the beginning of the film, so maybe that's where his character was going to go. But we'll never know unless they put out a director's cut. So and then his powers were weird. They were basically Susan's powers, but amplified, because and it was like he was Darth Vader. He was like force choking people, and then apparently he can force choke you and then cause you to burn internally, like he cooks you like you're in a microwave. I don't know how he does that. And he had a sort of green shield at one point, and he starts killing everybody. That's another thing. This Doom has never killed anybody before. Yes, he lived on a planet alone for a year, who apparently the planet is living. So I wonder if it's Ego they're on. Because it is a living planet that he's living on. And it responds to his will somehow, because he's a Jedi. I don't know. But he wasn't a killer, right? He didn't want to kill anybody. He was just slightly jaded of the process, right? Of the government's takeover. If his motivation was, hey man, this is my sovereign world. There's actually people living on it. I'm not going to let you exploit the resources of this world. And then went to fight them. That would make sense. But he's living on a desolate rock. And he's just murdering people. And again, he wasn't a killer before that. He wasn't even a bad guy. He was just slightly jealous of Reed because he thinks Sue and Reed fit together well. So, yeah. But I don't know. Again, the character development, because they went this way, veered way off tracks. So now Doom's motivation is he's gonna go home to this desolate rock place. And then we get Dr. Storm, and he's trying to talk him down from the ledge. He's like, listen, that's not your home. This is your home. We're not gods, but we're stronger together, and you don't have to be alone. Basically, what he was trying to say is, I'm right here for you. I love you, man. You don't have to go through. You don't have to be alone. Got you. And remember, this is one of the few people Victor trusts. We established that in the beginning of the movie. Respects, because he knows, as cheesy and as corny as he is, he wouldn't. He knows that dude thinks of him as a son, just like he thinks of all of the kids that work for him as family. So this is a big spoiler, but Doom force chokes and kills him for no reason. Like, he could have just like bat him aside, but he force choked and burned him and kill him, and then it was like, stick together, guys, and he teleports away. But somehow, when he teleports away, he leaves the portal open. Now, what they established before that if the portal had been left too big and too powerful, you could create a black hole and destroy the world. Now, here, yeah, what's different is, okay, so portal was left open by Doom somehow, and that's supposed to create a black hole that could destroy the world. But instead, somehow, when he goes to his side of the vortex, he creates a well of energy and like an obelisk and a beam of energy that goes up and then comes down to the other portal like a straight line. It's if the worlds are like this over top of each other. Like here's Doom's world and here's our world, and somehow it's a straight line. That's not how the portal works. Portal takes you from here and shimmies you over here in a different dimension or a different part of the universe. Not that one's over the other one and it's like a straight line. So that kind of 86 is the movie. And then somehow Doom's plan is to suck the Earth into his planet, and this energy well thing just vaporizes thing on impact. But the debris field is so big that couldn't possibly destroy the world. Like, his plan is stupid. So then, they go there and they attack Doom, and Doom, bats them away like flies. He uses his mind control powers and over the planet to like throw rocks at them and at the thing and Fantastic and the Human Torch. And okay, here's the thing. You can get what Thing's powers are because Thing is made of stone. You can get what the Human Torch's powers are because he's made of fire. And you may have, and I'm talking like Doom, may have noticed that Sue had an energy field. But there's one scene in the movie where he's like, Sue, I know you're there, where are you? Like, he knew she could become invisible. Like, when? He never saw her powers ever. He just found out. So that's a lot of bullshit. And then, so that's a big big flag right there of a mistake or botchness of it. And then you had Reed Richards fighting him and doing all right against him. And then he's like, oh, they're stronger than all of us, but not all of us working together. So they decide to unite as a team, and then they fight Doom, and they're able to beat him, and they throw him into the energy vortex, which kind of works, I guess, and defeats him. And then there was even a line in there, you always thought you were smarter than me, and that's because I am smarter than you. Like, that rivalry really wasn't there. Like, it was in Doom's head, but slightly. Not even too much. That rivalry wasn't there. They were friends before this. There wasn't a moment in the movie where Doom was like, hey, stop thinking you're smarter than me. And there was a mild jealousy, but having to do with Sue, not having to do with how smart. It just wasn't there. It wasn't there. Like, it might be from the source material, but it definitely wasn't in the movie. So that was out of place. And then they go back and they explain things to DC. And they're like, oh, shame nobody's can see you do this. And they're like, oh, well, we want a place and we want a spot. And they basically get Future Works. They get to do their scientific work because they threatened the government. And that's the movie. Now, what am I going to rate the movie? Right. So if you if you were a regular goer, I would give the movie a 2.5 out of 5, 50% rating. It's pretty bad, and basically because the movie went one way, then it went another way, and just the character development just wasn't right, and the story wasn't good, and then the ending kind of sucked, and it just fell apart. The second act of the final act of the movie fell apart. So then that's why I'm going to give it that. And if you're a comic book fan, this movie gets a 1.5 out of 5, and that's me being generous. It's not the worst comic book movie in the world, but even movies like if you think of bad comic book movies, and I'm not gonna, if you think of like in recent memory, Superman Returns was bad, but you had that feeling of nostalgia throughout the whole movie, and there were generally points where you were like, yeah. Same thing with the first Hulk movie. There were moments where you were like, oh, this is a Hulk film, right? And then there were both of those examples. They're movies when you think about them later, you're like, nah, they weren't really that good. You know, Superman is a deadbeat dad isn't that good. The Hulk is King Kong isn't that good. But this movie, you had an interest in where you wanted to see where they were going with this, and when they didn't go, when all you had in this movie was an interest to see where they're going, a curiosity, and they didn't meet that curiosity, and that's all you had. It's the feelings you had, because this whole movie is a long origin story, not them as superheroes going out to save the day and fight. You're left feeling very empty. And that's what happened. So so when you combine the two scores, the overall film average for this one is a 2. You just get left feeling empty, and that's it. That's really it. You know, they butchered another Doom origin story, whereas I don't know why they're afraid to give him an Iron Man-like suit that's made with alchemy, magic, and science. But whatever. I mean, they're gonna do a Doctor Strange movie, so how can you not allow? And then Thor does magic, so why can't Doom? And they even joke about magic in this movie. So I don't know, but yeah, this movie failed to deliver in every way possible, and it's just sad. I really wish one day maybe we'll get to see like a Donner cut of this film, you know, a director's cut, and see how it was supposed to be, and maybe that's a better film. But this movie's a fail. Alright, this has been a long video. I'm so sorry. I went through everything in detail and ranted about things, and so that's enough out of me. Click it up if you like it. If you even made it this long in the video, click it up if you like it. Comment if you must, and please, please, please subscribe if you can. And this is your buddy Alert Wolf signing out.